Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Well, it's been a really cold weekend, hasn't it? But it's warm in here. And it's warmed, really, by the bonds of affection that exist here. And warmed as well, it seems, by the desire that's here to be a force of love and healing in the world, that animates you as well. As we enter into this time of worship, we do so mindful that the Nihantic and Mohegan people are the original caretakers on the land on which we gather. We honor and pay respects to the Nihantic and Mohegan ancestors and the lineage that exists and lives today here, who uphold traditional practices, art, and education. My name is Tricia Brennan. I am your sabbatical minister for the next 4 months. Thank you. I'm very happy to be your sabbatical minister for the next 4 months and eager to see what we will do together in that time. You just demonstrated the welcome that I've received from my very first day here. It's quite a lively welcome that you offer to those who come to you for the first time. And it's in that spirit of welcome that I welcome each one of you here, each one of you coming in the door, each one of you in the online pews. I extend that welcome that is so alive here to you. So welcome. Welcome to you here in Unity Hall, to you and the online pews. Welcome to all souls, where all souls are welcome. Great. Our opening hymn is Just As Long As I Have Breath. And so as you are moved to rise or not, do so, and we'll sing together. Hi, Catherine.
I invite you to rise in body and or in spirit. Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to just as long as visionless, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love. I'm just going to take this. Good morning.
As we extend our welcome to one another here today, I ask anyone who is here at All Souls for the first time, if you feel so bold as to raise your hand and let us know you're here for the first time. Welcome, welcome, welcome here. And I also welcome us to notice that there are people in our online pews there. There's a camera there and we can wave and welcome them. And if you're with us today online, please type in and let us know if it's your first time. We are going to pass the peace, and as we do that, we bump elbows here to pass the peace. And if you're feeling like you might like to just not have your elbow bumped, or you're feeling you might not like to be approached, we invite you to just sit down. Otherwise, we tend to pass the peace for a little while here. So peace with all of you, and let us pass the peace. Each week, we light the chalice, the symbol of our faith. And today, I'd like to invite Emery to come forward to light our chalice. And please join me in saying these words of John Lewis, he of blessed memory, as Emery lights the chalice. You are a light, you are the light. Never let anyone, any person, or any force dampen, dim, or diminish your light. Study the path of others to make your way easier and more abundant. Lean towards the whispers of your own heart. Discover the universal truth and follow its dictates.
Each week, we light a candle also to hold up something important happening in the world or right here at All Souls. Today, we light a candle of gratitude for two people. The first is Catherine, our choir director. Catherine, who is teary-eyed, is leaving us for just a little while to go do something important. Yes, she's having a baby. The choir has been sounding marvelous, and most importantly, they are singing with joy and exuberance, thanks to your leadership. So we send you off today with all of our love and await your return after all the sleepless nights. Second, we are grateful that Tricia, Reverend Tricia, is here as our sabbatical minister. Tammy and I were just saying this week how much we are enjoying working with you already. Pretty soon it'll be Carolyn who? No. All right, maybe not, but we are truly happy to welcome you to All Souls and begin this wonderful relationship. Oh, and now, we're going to invite the choir up to sing.
Ponce
like to invite the children to come forward for the story for all ages. As Olympia joins me for this story, which last Sunday we told you the story about Mahalia Jackson. And today, as we start Black History Month, we have a story about a different Black singer connected with the civil rights, Marian Anderson.
Marian loved to sing. Sometimes Marian and her little sisters sang songs all afternoon. However, her voice was distinct, strong, and velvety. Everyone wanted to hear Marian sing.
That's all right, we can wait. We can enjoy looking at little Marian. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The choir director at the Union Baptist Church in South Philadelphia asked Marian, even though she was not quite 8 years old, to perform a duet with her friend Viola Johnson. Church folks started talking about Marian's remarkable gift.
After her father's death, Marian worked at odd jobs and sang in concert programs in order to help support her family. Finally, at 18, Marian went to music school and patiently waited in line for an application. But the girl behind the counter helped everyone except Marian. Was she invisible?
Finally, the girl said, "We don't take colored."
Her voice sounded like a steel door clanging shut. Didn't they know that her skin was different, but her feelings were the same? Couldn't she be a professional singer? When Marian saw a Metropolitan Opera performance of the tragic opera Madame Butterfly, the passionate music inspired her, and she was determined to study. But opera was simply the sun and the moon, a dream that seemed too far away to reach.
Marian was invited to many states to sing. Sometimes she traveled by train, where she was seated in the dirty and crowded Jim Crow car reserved for Black people.
Many times, she was welcomed enthusiastically by her audiences and then could not get a hotel room. No matter what humiliation she endured, Marian sang out her heart with dignity.
With the help of friends, she was granted an audition with the famous Giuseppe Borghetti. When she arrived at his studio, Mr. Borghetti announced that he didn't have time or room for new students. Too afraid to even look at him, Marian took a deep breath. Slowly, with great emotion, she sang.
Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Nobody knows my sorrows. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Glory, hallelujah.
"I will make room for you right away," Mr. Borghetti said firmly. "And I will need only 2 years with you. After that, you will be able to go anywhere and sing for anybody." Marian's devoted church community raised the money for her lessons.
Marian studied and was eventually invited to perform in concert halls across Europe. The enthusiasm for her singing was so overwhelming that one newspaper in Sweden called it Marian fever.
Marian was able to sing to mixed audiences and travel without the restrictions put on her people in America. Marion felt as if she had finally achieved some success. Mr. Baghetti had been right. She could go anywhere and sing for anyone.
Until she came home to the United States. In 1939, Howard University booked a concert with Marian Anderson and decided Constitution Hall would be perfect. But the manager of the hall said it wasn't available and no other dates were offered because of their white performers only policy.
In protest, Eleanor Roosevelt, the First Lady of the United States, resigned from the organization that sponsored Constitution Hall. With President Roosevelt's approval, the Department of the Interior invited Marion to sing on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Standing in the shadow of the statue of Lincoln, Marion realized that although she was a singer first and foremost, she also had become a symbol to her people. Marion took a deep breath and closed her eyes.
He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole round world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the children and the babies in his hands. He's got the children and the babies in his hands. He's got the children and the babies in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
After the Lincoln Memorial performance, Marion sang for kings and queens, presidents and prime ministers, famous composers and conductors. But there was still one place Marion had not sung. When she was finally invited, a dream came true.
On opening night, excitement charged the air. Trembling, Marion walked onto the grand stage. Tonight was her debut at the Metropolitan Opera. At long last, she had reached the sun and the moon. The curtains parted, and Marion sang.
And thus ends our story. Thank you so much. So we're going to go to our classes now, and Catherine is going to help the congregation sing Trees of the Field. But as we go, today we have our Black Lives Matter witness, so we're going to take the banner with us. Okay, so if you guys can help me with that, that would be great.
Now go out with joy and be that forth in peace. The mountains and the hills will break forward before you. There'll be shouts of joy, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. And all the trees of the field will clap their hands. The trees of the field will clap their hands. The trees of the field will clap their hands while you go out with joy.
Each week that we gather, we're reminded of the commitments that create and sustain what Reverend King called beloved community. One of the ways we tend to the fabric of community is to bear witness to each other's lives, the joy and the sorrow, both. Those souls in the online pews, you may write in the YouTube chat what you would like to have shared here in Unity Hall, and a reminder to please refrain from responding to each other there so that it will be easier to read through them. And those of you here in Unity Hall, you are invited to come forward and light a candle of intention as you are so moved. The circle is open. Your joy, your sorrow is welcome here.
into that beautiful array of candles lit, each with their own intention, I bring these from the larger community. And I begin with a special loss, that being the loss of Jan Johnson, who passed away on Tuesday at her home. She's a longtime member of this community, so I know that that is a loss for many, certainly for her son David, but also for many of you. So let us hold our silence for a moment in honor and memory of Jan. Amen. Barb Yates lets us know that she's in Yale New Haven Hospital, and cards are appreciated. You can find them in the weekly e-blast mailing. From John Gillis, love and light to all my All Souls family. All is well with me in Hartford. Those are from the Gray Book, and from the online chat, I give you word from Moira Herbert. I'm home recovering from throat cancer surgery, and I'm sad not to be singing. Moira, I'm sure everyone misses your voice, and we send you good wishes for a healing. Charles Schott, forgive me for any name misspoken, but Charles is healing well from hip surgery, and he thanks everyone for the get well wishes, so that is good news. And those are it today from the online chat and other places. It is such a beautiful way in which you hold one another in these customs of candles and intentions and saying aloud what matters. So with all that has been said and heard and taken into our hearts and minds this morning, let us come together for a time of prayer and meditation. O Holy One of mercy and compassion, give us strength to bear all that is hard in our lives, and make our joys inspire us with grateful and generous hearts. May each of us know ourselves as one among countless fellow human beings who share the planet, each one with sorrow and struggles, joys and delights of their own. May we see ourselves in them, knowing that any sorrow that we have felt has been felt by others in their own way too, and any joy that we have experienced has also been known by others. For our common human story that tells of loss and gain, joy and sorrow, delights and frustrations belong to us all. And may our shared membership in the human family be on our minds and hearts always, giving us a sense of expansive community, recognizing how we are all siblings and must take care of each other. May the bonds of unity felt here in this faith community grow and deepen and expand outward in love, stubborn and tender. And in our amen, may we be in silence in that shared communion for a moment. Let's join together in singing one more step, rising if you wish, seated as you will.
I'm reading to you from To Be of Use by Marge Piercy. The people I love the best jump into work head first, without dallying in the shallows, and swim off with sure strokes, almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves, an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out. The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing well done has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real.
A story I heard a long time ago. The little story goes like this. It's of a youngish pastor goes to visit an oldish elder, a woman who is living in an assisted living home. And he says to her, upon greeting her, "Marge, you look and seem so youthful today." And she brightens up, sits up a little taller in her chair, and she says, "Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for telling me that, because, you know, I do so want to be useful." Useful. He said youthful, thinking, I suppose that was something she'd like to hear, but she heard useful, because that was what she so aspired to. Another short story. A family I know well took a cottage in Cape Cod to rent for a week a number of years ago. And they got there late in the day with their car and all their beach toys and their food and everything that they could possibly want for their week's vacation. Except the problem was the cottage that was to be unlocked was indeed locked, and the owners were in Ireland. So what to do? They circled and tried to find a window that might be open, or entrance to the basement, or a key, but nothing until finally, young William, 5 years old, down at his latitude, saw that there was a rip in the porch screen door. Now, it wasn't a big rip, but it was big enough for a skinny little 5-year-old to finagle his way in, which is what William did. And then, to the excited and animated directions of his parents, he managed to unbolt the lock, open the door, and welcome his family to their vacation. And he was so chuffed up. He was so proud of himself. Young William is now a senior in college, and I called him to ask permission to use this story from his life, and I wondered, would he remember it? And he's like, I remember that day, that glory day in my young life. And he said, you know, among other things, he said, I felt so powerful. Well, no matter how old or young we are, we all want to be useful in some way. We want to contribute. We want to feel like we have something to offer. We want to be able to make a difference, to be of use. When I think about it, the very notion of being useful implies a connection to something or someone beyond ourselves. We're useful to a person or to an organization, to a community. We move in common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out, as the poet wrote. There's a quality of other directedness to being useful. Now, I suppose we can and are at times useful to ourselves, but more often we understand that experience of usefulness in relationship to others. And therein is found the gift, a mutual, gift. For there is such great comfort in someone seeing us and meeting us in our times of struggle and being useful to us by a word, a shared skill, hospitality, advocacy on our behalf, or an action. To be helped by another when we really need it can be a profound experience of grace and relief and intimacy. And there can be, as well, great joy in being of use because, well, like the older woman said to her pastor, we so much do want to be of use. It meets a need in us. We witness so much sorrow and pain and loss and injustice in our world. And when we can find a way to ease the pain, to solve a problem, to right a wrong, or be part of an effort that does any of that, we feel good. We're grateful for the chance to be of use. And we, too, stand up a little taller and brighten. We can be of use on a one-on-one level to an individual, a friend, a family member, or we can be of use to a collection of people, to schools, to congregations, the communities where we live, to the world in which we inhabit. To paraphrase Friedrich Buechner, who said, "We're called to find the place where our deep gladness meets the world's deep need." It's a mutual love affair, this being of use. We are lifted as we climb, and we are gifted as we give. The poem To Be of Use by Marge Piercy has a whole lot of active imagery, doesn't it? Jumping into work head first, swimming off with sure strokes just about out of sight, harnessing oneself like an ox to a heavy cart to move things forward, to do what has to be done again and again. The poem vibrates with energy and the joy that comes with action and movement and work that is real. Yet what about when we aren't able to swim like a seal or pull like a water buffalo or harvest the crops? Is being of use limited to those times in our lives when we are strong or producing much or creating new things? Is being of use tied to ability or success or health? I think not. I say not. Life has its phases, and all throughout, we do yearn to be of use, and that desire doesn't fade or end. And though the shape of usefulness changes, the capacity to be of use exists at every stage of life. Richard Rohr, who's a Franciscan priest, he founded the Center for Action and Contemplation. Some of you may know of him and his life's work. He writes that there are at least two major tasks to human life. And the first is to build a strong container or identity. And the second is to find the contents that the container was meant to hold. I might take some time to figure out what that's about, but I'll continue and say that those two tasks are sequential. The first half of life, right, it's typically filled with doing, building, creating, achieving. Not always, but often. While in the second half, we start to realize that life is not only about doing, it's also about being. And sometimes it's the failures and the losses and the illnesses that teach us the wisdom of being. So to be of use can mean sharing the wisdom you've earned in the life you have lived. be of use can mean listening closely without judgment to someone who really needs to talk. It can mean not rushing from one thing to the next, but slowing down into that blessed pace that enables one to be really present to those in your orbit. There are endless ways to be of use. Being of use is heard in the wisdom of one who speaks her truth at a 12-step meeting, or felt in the unexpected kindness when you're lost and someone guides you home. It can be seen in the commitment of those who week after week call or write their legislators as part of Amnesty International or UUA's Side with Love Action Center, or many other ways. You can be of use when you pray for those you love, those in need, those you don't know but care about. French theologian Teilhard de Chardin possessed a wild cosmic consciousness of creation, the world, and the holy. He believed that prayer and purity of heart are a means by which the cosmos is healed. In his book, The Divine Milieu, he tells the story of someone who enters a chapel and sees a woman at prayer. All at once, this person sees the whole world bound up and moving and organizing itself around that out-of-way spot, in tune with the intensity and inflection of the desires of that puny praying figure. The convent chapel had become the axis about which the earth revolved. Well, that's out there, isn't it? Yeah, he had quite the imagination and power of that. So I'll reel our sermon back in, ground us a little by simply saying that there are, again, countless ways to be of use in this world we inhabit and in these lives we have been given, and all of them are needed. We all at times know what it means to have been tended by another. And we all yearn to touch and heal the tender places of sufferings in others. In fact, it is better said that each of us has unique ways of being of use, and no one can offer exactly what is our special way, grace of usefulness. So do not minimize what you can offer of use. I'm of the school that when it comes to preaching, no souls are saved after 15 minutes, and I'm coming quite close to that end point. But I did want to say a few things about how I look at this time of sabbatical ministry with you and share just a bit about myself. So quickly, and there'll be more later, but you know, I've been a UU minister for 25 years, most of it as an interim minister, which is where you come in after a settled minister leaves and you help a congregation sense into their calling. This is not interim ministry. I come with no agenda. So it's very different than that, and I say that to you, though you probably know it, and to myself to remember. So what is this sabbatical ministry thing? Well, I just did a sabbatical minister at another church in the fall, and someone came up to me and said, "So are you like Mary Poppins?" You know, you come on in and you spits back, and I'm like, no. First of all, that church and this church is not a mess in need of anyone to come and straighten you out. So no. But then that person goes, well, is trying to figure out, well, are you like a pinch hitter? You know, in baseball? And I'm like, well, you're getting a little closer, but again, not really. You know, for one thing, you're not at the end of the game. right? I'm not your closer. I mean, you are all in as a community. So no, pinch hitter, no. The best analogy that I can think of as to what I feel I am here to do is to row the boat with you over these 4 months, to accompany you, yes, to be of use. And so really, we just got to keep the boat afloat. And we can do that, right? Right? Not too high a bar, but how do we do that? It's by doing everything that you do already. You know, it's the love and activity and dynamism in here that fuels you and that keeps you afloat and keeps you moving. So I'm here to help with that. You know, I'm here primarily for worship, life, and pastoral care, being support to the excellent staff and to the strong leaders. And that I am very glad to do. Of me, I live in Boston, as you might know, the great neighborhood of Jamaica Plain. I'm a very blessed person. I live with some of my best friends on the street, so I feel like it's like co-housing without all the meetings, if you're familiar with co-housing. I was married for 20 years, so I know the joys and challenges of married life. I've been single for about 11. I know the joys and challenges of single life. I have a marvelous young daughter who lives in Tucson. She is a bright light in my life and in other people's lives. She is too far away, but she is happy. I'll take it. But really what I most wanted to say is I grew up here. Some of you know this, but I grew up in Groton. I lived, when I was a baby, for a year in New London, and then all of my wonder years were in Groton. Went to school there, went to church there. And so, oh my gosh, to be back here is I'm giddy about it, to be honest with you. It's quite something. And yeah, so in the midst of all those memories of people and places, family, friends, community, there's also the ocean. It doesn't get any better. So I'm here professionally and personally. And honestly, that's what I wanted to say. So I'm here to be of use. So let us take now what I believe is a moment of silence in your worship.
I want to invite Mike Ritz to come forward and speak with us. Mike has offered to give a testimonial about stewardship.
Good morning. I'm relatively new here, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Lisa Ritz's husband. You want to stand? No. I would like to say again, good morning to the online community as well, and particularly one individual who promised me she would be watching, the Reverend Carolyn. I have not forgotten you. I have not forgotten you. It's always dangerous to put me in front of a group of people with a microphone, but I promised I would write things down and stay on script. We're going to talk a little bit about values and living your values. I was going to open with a rhetorical question, what are your values? But then I realized I pretty much know your values because you're here. that's pretty exciting for me. I've actually never been until last March in a community where I was surrounded by people that happened to share the same values that I had. Now, I didn't always have those values, but as I matured, I finally realized what I really did value. And I'm thrilled to be amongst you. A few years ago, Lisa and I were, we've always been kind of bleeding hearts and an easy mark for charity. And we were inundated, as most of you are, with opportunities and requests. So many causes, so many decisions to be made. And it was my wife, Lisa, again, who said, why don't we focus on the things that we really value? Brilliant. So and if you haven't done that, it's very freeing to just decide we're giving here, and these other things, we can't be everywhere. So we did that, and for years we've stuck to that plan, and it really works for us. But if you fast forward to last March, when again my wife discovered All Souls, there's a theme here, isn't there? To my surprise and our surprise and delight, we found a community that shared all of those causes that we had been contributing to. It was so great not to have to compromise, not to have to be a hypocrite anymore. And we could actually be amongst people who could challenge us to do more in those areas, which is one of the reasons I love coming here. I was talking to Eileen this week, and she asked me why I keep coming back, and it's because every week I find a new way not only to share what I value, but to challenge me how to get more and more involved. And so I'm very grateful for that. So in regards to specifically to stewardship, we continue to progress toward our stewardship goals. We're currently 40% of households have pledged, bringing us to 54% of our financial need for 2023 and 2024. Pretty terrific. If you haven't, please be sure to submit your pledge by March the 3rd so we can continue to fund the activities that we as a congregation have requested and endorsed. And in closing, I would just like to encourage you to joyfully support this body, because you already know this body is you and exists because of you. Thank you.
We are going to begin our collection, and I invite you to join me in these words as we prepare to do that. We give to the work of all souls. Our work weaves the fabric of love called community. To this end, we dedicate ourselves and this our offering. We'll now extinguish the chalice. Our service has ended, but our work is not yet done. May our spirits be renewed and our purpose resolved as we meet the challenges of the week. Our chalice flame is extinguished until once again ignited by the strength of our community.
Yep, I made a mistake. We have to sing, right? And what will guide me and all of us? The song Love Will Guide Us. Join. What's that? I don't have those slides. Oh, that's okay. Okay, it's number 131 in the hymnal, and I bet you all know it anyways.
Please rise either in body and or in spirit. We'll get through it together. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us, you lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can hear from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us, we'll lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. Well done.
In sending forth, I want to echo again those words of John Lewis with which we began our service. You are a light. You are the light. Never let anyone dampen, dim, or diminish your light. Know your worth and dignity, and know you have something of use for this world in need. Do not be stingy. What is yours to give? Let us be people of joy and courage as we go forth. Amen. announcements are coming.
And the announcer forgot her stool, but this works, right? So, March 5th is when our stewardship campaign ends. Can you all hear us? Yeah. Well, hello, have faith, I'm here. What can I say? So just encouraging everyone, we're really looking for 100% participation. So if you have, thank you for everyone who's already pledged for the coming year. And if you have not yet, please, we just need every one of you to contribute. It takes all of us. That's the first announcement. Second one, very important. We are inches away, breaths away from our building project. Thank you to the building committee. Here's what we need now. We need all of you to come next week here in person and or online, and we're going to tell you as many of the details as we have. There's drawings. We will have discussion. Please be here. And I think that's it. Oh, visitors, please find your way to the welcome table if you'd like to get more information. And Friday night folk, Maggie's guitar. Oh, did you want to speak? Okay, Friday Night Folk, Maggie's Guitar this Friday. They're doing their play. It's amazing. It's a play. I don't remember the name. It's called The Crossing. You'll love it. It's fabulous. Okay, so the play is about immigrants, and it will raise money for Start Fresh. It's fabulous. Don't miss it. All right. There's coffee.